Hi, welcome to the Shepherd Podcast. I'm your host, Pastor Chris. Thank you so much for joining us today for our episode. The Shepherd Podcast is a way to acquaint you with people here at Shepherd of the Hills and our church, school, and child care that I think you might enjoy getting to know better. And today I am excited to welcome as my guest a charter member of our congregation and also a former longtime employee of the church. And so welcome, Frona McGuire.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
And I'm so glad we have this chance to visit, because if anybody is familiar with Shepherd of the Hills, it would be you,
Yes.
Both from the perspective of being here since the beginning and also from the perspective of working on staff. And so you know the ins and outs of how things have gone here for quite a while.
Yes.
And I want to start out by asking you, what does Shepherd of the Hills mean to you?
I thought about that for a long time, and to me it means friends. When we first moved to San Antonio, we had a 6-month-year-old daughter, and I knew no one.
Okay.
So when we moved close to Shepherd of the Hills, they were building the church, and my husband said, "This is a church we're going to go to."
Oh, okay.
So I was excited about that, and when we started attending here, I automatically started meeting people and friends, and it was just wonderful to have someone to talk to other than a little baby who her vocabulary was very limited,
Right.
to dada and mama.
Yes.
And to have people call me, and I just felt so welcome among the new members at Shepherd of the Hills, and I got to know people, and it was just wonderful to have someone to talk to and to share things with, and other mothers that had little babies or toddlers.
Yeah.
And it was just great, and that's what Shepherd means to me. And most of my friends are members or have been members at Shepherd of the Hills over all these years, and I can't say enough about having friends at Shepherd.
Yeah.
So it's, like I say, it's great.
It's a lot of great people to be friends with here.
It is, and I hope the new people that are coming in feel the same way, that they're making new friends. They're keeping their old friends, but they're making new friends too.
Mm-hmm. So you guys moved to San Antonio right when the church was being built?
We lived here, well, I guess they were. We built our first home just across the street from Merkins, and so that's how we got to know about Shepherd.
Well, you were really close to the campus.
We were.
Yeah.
Yes.
And where did you move from?
We moved from Dallas. We lived in Irving, so the Dallas area. Originally, I'm from San Angelo.
Right.
So I grew up in San Angelo.
Yeah.
And we moved from San Angelo to Austin, back to San Angelo, and then to Dallas.
Okay. And was it a job opportunity that brought you guys to San Antonio?
Yes.
Yeah.
For my husband, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, you talked a little bit about San Angelo and where you're from originally, so why don't we go there now and talk a little bit about your upbringing. Can you tell us about your childhood and teenage years and so forth?
Yes, I'm the oldest of 5 children. I have 2 sisters and 2 brothers, and we're very close. I went to Lakeview High School, and after I graduated from there, I worked for a year. And then I went to San Angelo College, which was called SAC, not the SAC here, but the SAC in San Angelo.
All right.
And after working for a year, I decided to go to college, and I went there for a year, and then Tom and I got married. I had a lot of fun in San Angelo. My senior year was wonderful. All of high school was great. It was a small high school. My senior class was 111 kids.
Okay.
And I think I was number 11 or number 13 in the rating.
Good.
My youngest brother is 15 years younger than I am.
Oh, okay.
I always call him an afterthought, but he doesn't particularly like that. But anyway, we're all, like I say, we're all very close. When my mother died, she disliked cold weather immensely. And that year, a big cold front came through, a northern, and I've never heard northern's name before, but that northern happened to be named Frona.
Oh, really?
Yes, and like I say, I've never heard northern's name before, but even on the national news, it was called Frona. And it was terribly cold, it was icy, and like I say, it was just very, very cold. But anyway, we had a very joyful funeral for her. Yeah. And 6 months later, my dad died, and I think he died of a broken heart because he missed his beautiful sweetheart, as he called my mother.
And they were married for how many years?
70 years.
Yeah.
So they were, like I say, we were very close. And one thing my mother wanted was for all of her children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren to stay close, and we have. Mm-hmm. We had some family reunions. We don't have them as often now as we used to, but we're still close. Yeah. And so that's my upbringing. We were raised in the Lutheran Church there. Neighbor behind our house where we grew up invited my parents to come to church with them, and that's how we got into the Lutheran Church.
Oh, okay.
So.
Okay. Now I want to go back to, you mentioned the northerner name Frona. Uh-huh. How many other Fronas do you know besides an event of weather?
My dear grandmother is named Frona. Yes, my grandmother, that's my dad's mother. Oh, she was a sweetheart. I loved her dearly. She's the only grandmother I knew who brought dirt into her house so her dear little granddaughter could make mud pies.
Oh, now there's love, right?
There's love. There's love. And she loved all her grandchildren. My dad was an only child, and so we 5 were her grandchildren. Yeah. And I like to say I was her favorite, but that's not true. Who would bring dirt into her house and spread newspaper around so her little granddaughter could make mud pies. Right. And but
now, have you ever done that for your grandchildren?
Oh, heavens, no. They didn't make mud pies, but I wouldn't do that. But my granny would. Yeah. Wow. And my mother is English, and I was born in England.
Oh, you were born in England?
Yes. So we came across on the Queen Mary I, and it's docked in Long Beach, I believe. Okay. And so my mother used to say that she and Queen Elizabeth played together because the Queen has a castle in Norwich. Oh, okay. Which I got to see a couple of years ago. But my mother said that she and Queen Elizabeth played together.
Yeah, that's pretty elite company.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Of course, I believed her.
Of course.
But my mother was a unique person. Her English accent and her Texan accent got mixed together, so she sounded like she was from Georgia.
Oh, that must have been an interesting combination.
Yes, it was. Yeah. And my mother would do anything for her children, and she was always there for any of our and so was my dad, for any of our activities. Yeah. So they were a great couple.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, let's talk a little more about Shepherd of the Hills. So you gave us a little bit of the outline earlier of where you had lived and where you and Tom had lived, and then finally arrived in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. Were you here for the first worship service that took place?
No, we were here for the second one.
The second one.
And everyone, well, not everyone, one since then, but most everyone since then. Yeah. So there were about 30 members, I think, to start out, and it grew from there. Yeah. The members were very close. We did yard work together. Mm-hmm. We cleaned the first sanctuary, had these horrible brick floors. Yes. Why anyone would put those in, I don't know, but they were terrible to take care of. So we were paired up, 2 couples were paired up to clean the church. Uh-huh. I think the first staff member we hired, other than the pastor, was a janitor, for obvious reasons.
You had your priorities.
We had our priorities straight. And we had voluntary secretary, and I can't remember her name, But then I think after that we did have a part-time secretary that came in for a number of years.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So tell me about the Pastor Kuhlman years. I mean, the first, 8 years of Shepherd. What was it like compared to, how it was in the decades after that?
Pastor Kuhlman was a very nice man. He and his wife, Eloise played the organ.
Okay.
And they had 2 sons. Joel was the youngest one. I can't remember. Jimmy, I think, was the older one. And Joel and my younger daughter were the same age. And they made quite a pair. We won't go into that.
Okay.
But Pastor Kuhlman was very unique. He had his way of doing things. And he was a good pastor. Tom was confirmed under Pastor Kuhlman. I think there was 3 adult confirmands, and the church grew under his leadership. And then he accepted a call to Amarillo, I believe. And we were 1 year without a pastor.
Right.
And then Pastor Dan came.
Right.
And he was here for 30-some-odd years?
36 years.
36 years.
Now, when he agreed to come, originally it was one of the contingencies was we're going to start a school here.
Yes.
So, do you remember what was the vibe at Shepherd around that time? This whole idea of starting a school. Were the members excited about it, or were they saying, "Well, if that's what we have to do to get a pastor"?
Well, we thought, let him try.
Let him try. We'll see how it goes.
Yes. And so it worked out. We called 2 teachers, one of them to be principal teacher, and I think there was 11 students, I'm not sure. And the old sanctuary was upstairs, was divided into 2 rooms.
Right.
And then it was divided into 4 rooms, and one wall kept going up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
And finally it was decided we'd build a building. And that was the last building we was going to do. And we had 6 of those last buildings we were going to do.
And those are all the school buildings, right?
Yes.
All the additions over the years.
Yes.
The first part was the gym?
It could have been.
Could have been. They all run together after
they
a
all
while.
They all ran together. And then we finally finished building the school. And then we got Old Yellow out there. Do we still have Old Yellow?
We painted it so it's not as yellow as it used to be.
Yes, we have the portable building. We got that.
Yeah.
And then the portable building went to the high school, I thought.
The one that is where the church is now?
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
And then we finally decided, it's about time we got a new sanctuary.
Because it was getting too filled up?
Yes.
You had 2 services, and it was, every seat was filled every Sunday pretty much.
And then we decided we needed a sanctuary.
Yeah.
And that was a really big undertaking.
Oh, yeah.
We spent 1 year in prayer and preparation and deciding on the plan and everything. And, that was a big undertaking, but it was a beautiful undertaking, too. Yeah. And we are so proud of our sanctuary that God would bless us with such a building.
Yeah.
And I think my younger daughter was the second wedding in that sanctuary. And we've had many beautiful weddings in that sanctuary. I think yours was one of them.
I was married in, absolutely, 2010.
Yes. And we've had many funerals in that sanctuary.
Yeah, many.
Yes, a lot this year.
Yeah.
And a lot of graduations from the school in there.
Yeah.
So that's basically the history of Shepherd of the Hills.
It's interesting. You can mark the history in a lot of ways by the building projects.
Yes.
Because it tells you where the growth was and what was going on and what the needs were.
Yes. And we've added lots of services. I think we've had Saturday night services since we've had the new sanctuary.
Yeah, right.
And since the pandemic happened, we've had outdoor services. This past Easter, we had 2 services going.
At one
8
time.
o'clock.
Yeah, that was different.
That was a new one.
Yeah.
And we've added a contemporary service, which is new for Shepherd, going quite well. So that's Shepherd in a nutshell.
So how about the new building? As someone who's seen all the building projects, how do you feel about the current building project?
Oh. Well, that was kind of sad to see the old sanctuary go.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about the new one.
Right. And,
Yes.
we're saving the stained glass from the old church, and so we'll be able to retain some of that history. Yeah.
Yes, I'd forgotten about that building.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not on staff for that building.
Well, there's not really a building to talk about at this point, but the slab, it's a lovely slab.
Yes, it is.
Right? And the building committee's doing a great job, and we're going to get there.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, so exciting days ahead.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about being on staff. So at what point did you join the staff, and what was your job?
I originally joined the staff, I think, in 1995, 96, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And I joined the staff on the school side.
Oh, okay.
I was school treasurer.
Okay.
And that lasted for 2 or 3 years. And then there came an opening on the church side, so I switched to the church side. And it was part-time, too, for a while.
Okay.
And then it worked into full-time.
Right.
And Pastor Dan and I were the only staff. And then Alice came on staff.
Okay.
And then Pastor Bud came on staff as first from the SIM.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came on as, I never know if it's associate pastor or assistant pastor.
One of those.
One of those, yeah. And then he went to Bernie, because we started the Bernie Church.
Right.
Messiah.
Messiah, yeah.
And then he came back here and he retired. And then he came back on staff and he retired. And I told him we weren't going to have any more retirement parties for him. So, and then Pastor Doug came on staff. And then Pastor Michael. And then you. I loved my job. It was great to come to work. I enjoyed every bit of it.
Yeah.
I was a bookkeeper, administrative assistant. I worked with everything that had to do with money. I kept the calendar.
Yeah.
I worked with membership. That way I knew the names of the new members. I did not know them, but I knew their names. And still today, someone will come up and say, "Who is so-and-so?" A newer member since I retired. I'm sorry, I don't know who that person is.
Yeah.
But I really loved my job.
Yeah.
It was tailor-made for me.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed meeting people. I met them under happy circumstances. For a wedding, a new birth, a job promotion, things like that. And I met them under sad circumstances, too, for a death in the family,
Right.
A crisis in their family.
Yeah.
But I really, really loved my job.
Yeah.
It was tailor-made for me.
Oh, great.
And I hated to retire, but my prayer was, Lord, let me not miss it. And he answered that prayer.
Yeah.
I have not missed the job at all.
Well, good. I'm glad.
So
you're enjoying the latest chapter of life.
Yes, my next chapter.
Yeah. Talking about your role, and you mentioned when I was called here, after receiving the call to Shepherd of the Hills, you were the first person that I talked to on the phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I had called to talk to Pastor Dan and just have a conversation with him. I think it was the day after call day. And you answered the phone, and I believe you immediately gave me a hard time about being a Dallas Mavericks fan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Well, at least you were a Cowboy fan.
And that's right. So that was good, right?
Yes, that was good.
Yeah. But
yes.
I remember a little bit of banter in our first conversation, and I thought, I'm going to like working with this lady. She's fun.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
I did enjoy working with you.
Oh, thank you. Likewise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were a big help to me when I was going through my battle with cancer, too.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
As a cancer survivor, can you tell us what it was like to go through cancer and the treatments, and whatever fears or thoughts there were, and perhaps what role did your faith play in all of that?
Oh, chemo was the pits.
Yeah.
One good thing, I never got sick like a lot of chemo patients do.
Mm-hmm.
I remember coming to work before I started chemo. I woke up that morning, I was crying before I even got dressed.
Mm-hmm.
I came to work crying, and Tim Eichstead came into my office, and I said, "It's real. I have cancer." I'd already gone through the surgery.
Yeah.
And it's real. I think I was going to start chemo the next day or something.
Yeah.
And I'm going to lose my hair. That was my one fear. I was going to lose my hair. Mm-hmm. And I won't be able to take my youngest granddaughter to SeaWorld. And Tom says, we can still go to SeaWorld. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
But chemo was rough.
Yeah.
As each treatment came along, it got worse. But the congregation, the ladies in the congregation rallied around me because there were several survivors. Mm. Some of them drove me to chemo, and Tom would pick me up. Some of them stayed with me during the treatment because they could do that where I went. Uh-huh. The worst one, let me back up just a little bit. Uh-huh. We had planned to go to Disney World with my two granddaughters and my daughter and son-in-law over Thanksgiving break. Well, we got to do that because the doctor had arranged my treatment so we could do that, mm-hmm. and that was wonderful. Mm-hmm. My granddaughters didn't know we were going, so they were in the hotel lobby when we walked in. Grandma, you're here! So that was great. Yeah. But anyway, I made it through chemo, and my last chemo treatment was the Monday before Christmas Eve service.
Oh, wow.
And I was so weak and tired, I couldn't make it to Christmas Eve service, one of my favorite services. Yeah. And so I was trying to get dressed, and I finally walked into Tom crying, saying, I just can't go, because I was just too weak. So I missed that. But I made it through all the treatments, and that was wonderful. And then I started radiation, which that was a piece of cake. I think I had 45 radiation treatments. But the wonderful thing was I had a very supportive family, a very supportive husband, and all my friends at Shepherd were very supportive. Mm. You know, even when you're in the valley, there's beauty in the valley. Mm. There's a babbling brook, there's flowers. So that was one of my valleys. Yeah. But you can see beauty in the valleys. Yeah. And like I say, I had supportive family, I had support of my friends, my doctor. They were all wonderful. Yeah. So there is beauty, even when you're going through some tough times. Yeah. And hair does grow back.
It does.
It does.
Very nicely.
Thank you.
Yes.
But it does grow back.
Yeah.
And I can tell it to people who are going through cancer, breast cancer. Mm-hmm. It's not easy, but God got me through it. Yeah. I never feared death. I did not think I was going to die. That was never a thought in my mind. Yeah. I knew I was going to get through it. I knew from the moment I found the knot in my breast that it was cancerous, even before I went to the doctor. Mm. And I found that maybe 3 or 4 days before my annual checkup. Mm. And I told the doctor about it, and he said, yes. He says, you need to go get your mammogram. He says, I want you to go on this day because this doctor is there. And so I went, had the mammogram. The radiologist wanted to see me. You never see a radiologist when you go to get a mammogram. Okay. And he said, we need to do a biopsy, Mrs. McGuire. He says, I'll call your doctor and arrange it. You come back such and such day at such and such time. And then a couple of days later, the gynecologist called Tom and I in, and he says, you have breast cancer. I'm going to set you up with this surgeon. And you go in, and I happened to have surgery on my older daughter's birthday. Oh, really? So she didn't have a very happy birthday that year. But like I say, we got through it. All praise and glory to God. Yeah. they were able to take care of it, and I made it. We went to Hawaii with Linda and Des Kettleson to celebrate the end of it, everything. So
great.
Yeah, it's behind me.
Yes.
So,
but it left you with quite a perspective.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thanks be to God for bringing you through that and restoring your health.
Yes, He takes care of me.
Yes, He does.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
You mentioned how supportive your family was. Can you tell us a little bit more about your family, a little bit about Tom and your children and grandchildren?
I have, we have 2 daughters. The oldest one, Joanna, and her husband, Brian, live here. Joanna is a counselor at Stevenson Middle School.
Okay.
Brian retired from education 2 or 3 years ago, and he works with our younger grandson, Zachary. Zachary has his own business. He captures wild animals and sells them to ranchers, hunting ranches, like buffalo and elk, not elk because you don't have elk down here, but antelope and different things like that.
Really? How interesting.
Yeah, he does quite well at it. I call him our future millionaire, but...
Wow.
And both grandsons have their college degrees. I have to laugh. One year when Doug was setting up for Vacation Bible School, he had an A&M T-shirts on. And the boys were about, 6 and 4, something like that. Uh-huh. And we got in the car. One of them says, "Grandma, how can he wear an A&M T-shirt?" Because they were big Texas fans. I said, "Well, he went to A&M. Well, our older grandson graduated from A&M, and he's a big Aggie now." So, but anyway, Chance got married 2 years ago to Stephanie. So she's one of our granddaughters, too. Our younger daughter, Tommy and Ricardo, live in Carrollton, which is a suburb of Dallas. Right. And they have 2 daughters. Isabel is a junior this year, and she's on the dance team. She loves dancing. Yeah. And Tori is a freshman, and she's on the track team. So that's Tom and my family. Tom and I will be married 56 years in August.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we have had a very interesting life, I think. We love to travel. Yeah. And we recently got back from Dallas to watch Tori in a track meet. Uh-huh. And she did quite well. I was really pleased with her. We're going to have to drop out of one relay because one of the girls got hurt. But she went up to the coach and said, "Hey, Coach, why can't so-and-so run in this relay?" And so they ran the relay and came in second. I was very proud of her.
Yeah, very good.
Sticking up like that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm the oldest of 5 children. Right. I have 2 sisters and 2 brothers. Mm-hmm. So that is our family.
You mentioned traveling. What's your favorite place you've traveled to?
A couple of years ago, my one sister, Tom, and I went to England to see where my English family.
Right. The Queen's friends.
The Queen, yes.
Yeah.
And we went 4 days early to see London, and then to go to Norwich and to see my aunt and uncle there. They're the same age as I am, because my mother was an only child, and her mother died when she was quite young. Oh. And then later on, her dad remarried, and they had a son.
Okay.
And so we toured London, and we had high tea at the top of the Shard, which is a building that looks like a shard of glass.
Okay.
And we were on the 37th floor to have high tea, and we could see all over London. Uh-huh. So we went to Buckingham Palace and, all the things to see in London, the Tower of London and Neat. All that. And then we went to Norwich and stayed there a few days and visited with my aunt and uncle and my cousins and got to meet them. And then we went all the way around the British Isles to Scotland and Wales and Ireland. And
nice.
It was a wonderful trip.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorites. And then about 15 years ago, we went on a Mediterranean cruise.
Oh,
that was wonderful
beautiful.
too. Yes,
Yeah.
and we went with the Kettlesons in the Castors on that trip,
Okay. Uh-huh.
and went to Ephesus to see where Paul was.
Yeah.
Which with Ephesus is not on the coast anymore. It's 60 miles inland.
It used to be on the coast?
Yes,
Wow.
but it's not anymore.
Interesting.
But we went to Rome, and Tom and I got lost in Rome. We got separated from the rest of them, and so we got a walking tour of Rome. But anyway, and that was interesting. And we've been down in the Caribbean on a number of tours.
Yeah.
And we've toured the Hawaiian Islands.
Mm-hmm.
Been to Alaska twice.
Yeah.
Loved Alaska.
Yeah.
And went on they call it the Mexican Riviera, which is down on the Pacific coast.
Okay.
And like I say, and we've toured a lot of the United States too. With the girls, we took a train out to California to Disney World, or is it Disneyland? I get those two.
Disneyland in California?
Yeah, Disneyland.
Yeah.
And we've taken them on vacations when they were younger to Colorado and New Mexico and Arizona,
Uh-huh.
and things like that, and Disney World in Florida. So
If you could pick one place to visit that you have not been to yet, what would you pick?
I would like to go more into Italy, the part that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
So I think that would be very interesting. And I'd like to go back. Well, I've seen England, but I think I'd like to. And I'd love to go to Australia, but I don't know if I could take that flight over there.
That's a long flight.
That is.
I've heard it's worth it.
Yeah, it looks like
Yeah.
it would be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, great. Well, tell me, last question I had for you is, besides traveling, when you're here, what do you like to do for fun? How do you pass the time?
I like to read murder mysteries.
Oh, okay.
So
Favorite author?
I like Hillerman
Okay.
and Killerman.
Hillerman and Killerman?
Yeah,
Got
one
it.
with an H and one with a K.
Okay.
And Johansson.
Okay.
I like those. Not gory murder mysteries, but
Yeah.
someone was killed, and then how was he killed? And let's solve that mystery.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That sounds good. Well, now we've got a few recommendations for people who like that same
yes,
genre.
yes.
Yeah, great. Well, it's been a lot of fun getting to have this conversation with you.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, and you're just a wealth of information about the history of Shepherd of the Hills, so it's always great to get to revisit the different eras with you. I remember when we did the 50th anniversary videos, and that was
Yes.
really fun to hear you and Tom reflect on that. So great to get to go over some of that material and then just to go deeper into your life as well.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yes. And thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. I know that you did, getting to know Frona better. Until next time, may the Lord grant you good health and safety and his joy today. We'll see you next time. The peace of the Lord be with you.